Welcome everyone to Love and Beloved Platform. Usually I'm looking around. Usually I can hear it like record on this computer, so that's why my face was like a little bit interesting because it didn't make a sound. But listen, guys, this platform is for women who are ready to heal, to rise, to walk in God-given purpose. Here you find authentic conversations, stories of restoration, practical tools, and advice of the experts to help you overcome your challenges and live with courage and joy and purpose. And you guys not alone, and your healing matters. And thank you for your continuing support. If this podcast has encouraged you and inspired you, please, I love you to share with your friend or leave the rating or subscribe because it helps more people to find the hope and healing through these conversations. So, my guest says, I help women break free from diet culture by reshaping their mind, not the size of their pants. So, joining me today it's Stephanie Dodier, and Stephanie is clinical diet nutritionist, certified intuitive eating counselor, cognitive behavior coach, and the host of Beyond the Food Show. Welcome, Stephanie, to Love and Beloved Platform.
Thank you for having me, and hi to everybody listening. I'm so happy to be here with you and share my story.
And that's awesome. And honestly, guys, I found Stephanie through Facebook ads, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, this woman talking to me, for me, about me. And I know it's gonna bring you value. So I'm really, really grateful, Stephanie, that you took the time out of your busy schedule to be here with us today.
Thank you.
So your work has empowered thousands of women to break free from diet culture. But before we dive into that, can you please take us back to the beginning? What pivotal moments or personal struggles led you to become such a powerful voice in this space?
That's a great question. My origin story is dialing myself back to 12 years old, summer of 1987. And my family took me to a Weight Watcher meeting in the first week of September because our family doctor has perceived that I was what is described as overweight and I needed to lose weight. So I entered the mechanism of the weight loss industry at 12 years old. And then from there, I up and down my body weight through dieting, all the diets in the world for 25 years. My last diet was at 39 years old, and today I'm 50 years old. And through my last dieting effort in my late 30s, beginning of 40s, I got really sick. And I was introduced through that journey to another approach, which is called a weight neutral approach to health. And here I am today, specializing in that and helping women approach health in their body from a completely different perspective.
And that's why it's really resonated with me because I've been in this journey and probably many of us too. And I'm so grateful that you turn these challenges now to serving women, helping women to understand this, because I believe in this approach to um, the spiritual and mental health and emotional health and physical health. It's not a diet. It's all wholeness and that holistic approach to wellness. So I'm really grateful that you're gonna teach us and share your process and your method. So you help women in 92 countries going through beyond the food method. So what do you believe makes your approach resonate so deeply across such a diverse backgrounds?
Yeah. I think you said the key word here, beyond the food. Because when we think of eating, we automatically think of health, right?
Mm.
Because the two for decades have been associated together. And we think of food as something, as a scientific formula. If I do this and I eat this in this quantity, I'm going to be at a quote normal weight and I'm going to be healthy. The truth is, food is an eating behavior. Our choices around food are not only intellectual, they're also emotional, they're also spiritual, they're also nervous system reaction. They're more than simply a bunch of intellectual information. So, what drives our behavior around food is beyond the food. And that's the name of my company, Going Beyond the Food. And I've developed that approach from being a clinical nutritionist for years and seeing my clients, mainly women, struggle with their choice around food just like I was. For decades, I thought it was only me until I became a professional in the field and I realized that all women, or nearly all women, had the same challenges than me. They were struggling with making choices, having behavior around food. And when I started to dig around it, it was around the way that they're perceiving their body, the way they were perceiving health, and what they were told about who they were as women. So, in order to change our eating habit, which is absolutely necessary in some cases, like we need to make different choices, but instead of doing it from a scientific formula with the goal of reshaping the size of our pants, we're doing it by addressing what drives the behavior. We go beyond the food.
That's awesome. Yes, and like honestly, if you guys know my story, this is like exactly what
Is
happened to
it?
me. For like 20 years, I thought like I was overweight. I was overweight, and I was targeting this mentality to be skinny, not too healthy. I just want to look good for my husband, for people, for this, for that. And I really struggle with that. And 20 years later, I realized, oh, it's a trauma because every time everything's good, I can stick to something. And then nobody talk about emotional eating. Everybody say calorie in, calorie out, exercise, and I try. Honestly, guys, this yo-yo dieting, like sometimes like my mental health was well and everything was good around me. Man, I could like calorie in out. I would exercise. I would do all this stuff. I was like doing martial arts and all this stuff. And then something happened, like for example, like physical trauma usually affected me if I get hurt and I cannot perform anymore, right away I go to food. And I actually was talking to my doctor, which is like so bizarre. This is, we'll touch on that too a little bit because I would like to share that story as well because I just want to tell women that they're not alone if they not listen by our family doctors and professionals, and my was men as well. So that's created its own trauma, but later on we'll dive into that. But this time what happened is actually I it was so interesting. I was telling my doctor that I eat until I want to throw up, and then I don't even remember what I ate. I said that so many times. And until I actually healed my mental health and had awareness, I saw that I actually mechanically eating on top of the sink, like Nutella with the
Yeah.
spoon, until I physically want to throw up and I get sick to my stomach. And I was like, and later on, my psychiatrist said, well, that was PTSD with plush and all this stuff. And it was so bizarre that for years I thought I'm like, oh, I just cannot control myself. Like, I just overeat. I just did that. And then this emotional eating, although it was awareness, it still was like a label. I'm like, okay, I'm emotional eater. That's what I do. And there was no solution to that too. And I was like, okay, when something happened, I do that. And that's what I want to bring an expert as yourself, Stephanie. So we would learn not only identify triggers and know what emotional eating is, but learn what to do about it and to learn that it's okay and it's nothing wrong with you. It's not crazy or weird. It just something happened. You have to figure out how to notice it, deal with it, and actually there's opportunity to heal it and move through it and thrive through it. Can you please help us to understand this little bit more?
I want to touch upon one thing that explain why we don't see emotional eating, binge eating, because what you were describing with the Nutella is a classic sign of binge eating disorder.
Hmm.
We don't see eating behavior as a trauma response. And
Hmm.
the reason why, even clinically, even when I was studying nutrition and health, we did not recognize eating behavior as a trauma response because of weight stigma. Right?
Hmm.
We have to be really clear with that. And I want to put words to this. Fat phobia, weight stigma are a form of oppression. It's a form of classifying people based on their size of their body, their weight. And as Western society, we believe that everyone must be thin or quote unquote normal behind BMI. People that are outside of that, there's
Hmm.
something wrong with them and they need to lose weight. So when we bring that clinically into an approach to health, we think people are just eating too much. We don't connect that, for an example, for you, you had trauma and you were using food as a way of feeling better when you had your trauma activated.
Hmm.
We openly will say drugs, yet we recognize that drug addicts are using drug to respond to their trauma. Alcohol, right? Gambling, any form of addiction, but we don't do that with food. So I want to bring that up to people. The reason why perhaps it's the first time you're hearing the connection is because of weight stigma. Now,
Hmm.
that being said, when we eat, when we emotionally eat or binge eat, we actually provoke a dopamine response in our brain. And if you know anything about trauma, what trauma is pain, and the brain is seeking reward. And by triggering the dopamine response through our eating, we're actually making ourselves feel better. And the only reason why we see that as problematic is because people gain weight. And we are a fat phobic, weight stigmatic society. So we shame people instead of looking into why is she eating Nutella until she feels sick. Does that make sense, Lena?
This is actually, I wanted to pause to
Go for it.
put that input, but now I'm so glad that I finished listening to you, but I still have this thought in my head because when I had the baby, so I have this past with alcohol and drug abuse, but when I had like my healthy life and I got married, have a child and quit everything
Yep.
cold turkey, so I was thinking, you know what? If I was pushing the stroller and doing the cocaine or shooting heroin, people would like, oh my gosh, something wrong with you. Like, you need help. Or I don't know, they would get involved, someone to help me. But
Yes.
or at least like ask questions. But guess what? In that first year with postpartum depression, and I have no way how to deal with my trauma, I went from size 8 to size 18. And you know what? No one, even not my doctors, not my family members, no one asked me, is there something wrong?
Yeah, that's weight stigma.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
was pushing.
embedded
Yep.
in medical system. Your doctor, I want everyone to hear that. Your doctor are taught to judge their patient based on their weight. It's not your fault. They're just taught that in school. We're just over the last 5 years starting to change the education in the school system about that.
Thanks God. It's terrible.
So I
And,
want to I
oh,
want to
go
build
ahead.
on what you
Yes.
said because what I find when I work with women is it's exactly your story. Today, they're using food as a way of dealing with their emotion, but many times we find trauma in their past. We find alcohol addiction in their past. We find use of gambling, of drugs, of money. And now they just move one numbing source to
Mhm.
another with food. Because nowhere did we solve the real problem, the
Mhm.
trauma and the emotion.
Yeah, that's why when I heard you speak, I'm like, you talking to me because it took me so long to figure out myself. Like, why people like not teaching people about this stuff? Like, honestly, I'm so grateful now. Thanks God to social media, to awareness, to
It's
moving from
changing.
all of these labels. Like, it's moving slowly but surely. We're talking about this, and it's very serious topic. It's part of our lives, and we need to learn how to deal with that because with that comes and depression and anxiety and self-esteem issues. You know, when I look good and I felt good and I physically was performing, I was like not healthy in my mind, but physically I was like I still was not in a deep
Yes.
depression, anxiety part the way I look because at least I had that. At least I have something. But then like everything started falling apart and my life quality went down because I couldn't do flight of stairs. I was angry all the time at my husband because like I didn't feel any like desirable like even or I didn't feel that somebody gonna love me like plus like on top of all these issues that already have with abandonment with my parents and all this stuff. So now physically now I felt like not attractive like and I just got worse and worse. And I actually went to my doctor, and you know what he said to me? Oh, you just mother of three kids. He like brushed me off so many times. That's why I was telling you guys, I want to talk about this. 10 years I was with this doctor. 10 years. Because I was not healthy, like with my mental health, I kind of allowed that. I did allow. Was my fault. I did not move from him somewhere else because but what I did though, I fought for everything. I was like not advocating for myself. I was fighting with him. Yes, I need this. Yes, I need you to do this. Yes, I need to like and sometimes I was so flabbergasted that I have to tell him and argue for my health because he said, "No, you don't need that." I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like, I feel this way. Don't tell me it's just the mother. Something wrong with me. I've been in this slumber for so long. Like, I need help. And he would say to me, I think you're fine. Your mark is like, we did a blood test. You okay? I'm like, okay, something not okay. And literally, um, after one of like every test he did on me was with the argument, which is was so bizarre. And then he gave me one day this application, and he's like, okay, let's check if you have like maybe depression or anxiety. And I was reading that and I was crying because I literally just come out from it. Like after like 5 years feeling
Mm.
all of those things on the list, I'm like, this is how I was like 3 days ago. It's literally almost like I just my body pull myself out of it. But all these consequences of those years like it was still with me. So my brain now understand and aware all of this behavior and why it's happening. And I read and I cry. I wept that 10 years ago he didn't give me that page.
Mm. Can I talk about something that as you're telling your story, I can't help but notice. It's the dynamic by which women are socialized. So as women, we are socialized. So socialization is the way we educate the brain of our children, right? So when little baby humans are born, they're born with what I call a blank brain, which has no belief, no thoughts in it. And as we grow up with our parents for the next 15 years, we put on board a programming in our brain, right? That's called socialization.
Okay.
Women are socialized, women are trained, are educated to assign their worth, their self-esteem, based on what other people think of them, right? So including the way our body look, including of how good we are, how compliant we are, our good patient. In your case, you were a compliant patient, you were doing. So we assign ourselves for it based on the way we look, based on the way we are able to satisfy other and being compliant to others. People born as men, people identified as men, are not raised this way. They're socialized differently. They're socialized to be powerful. They're socialized to be innately worthy. Okay? So we socialize little boys and little girls differently. One of the ways by which we socialize women to the way they look, their beauty, is diet culture. We tell women you must be thin to be worthy. If you
Mhm.
are not thin, you're not beautiful, and you're not worthy to be a woman. And in order for you to be thin, you need to follow all these rules, including what your doctors say.
Mhm.
No wonder why you got stuck for 10 years, because you did not have your agency to demand what was good for you. Not only were you dieting and losing and gaining weight and doing through that struggle, you had other health issues that weren't being addressed because you didn't have the belief you could demand what you wanted.
And I didn't know what I needed.
Yeah.
I wish like somebody was there like to partner up with me. And it's really good that you're saying that like women needs women. I'm so grateful that
Yes.
we are
Your
educating
doctor was a
women.
man, right?
Exactly. And my friend actually said to me when I left, like, oh my gosh, I left him with the scandal.
Yes.
Thanks God. Like, I'm so grateful that I actually was composed because the way I left, it was so bad. But my daughter was with me. So I literally was like really took care of the way I, not the way I speak, but what I was saying, because it could be like so bad. It was very bad. But by the grace of God, I left him and got another female doctor. But uh, yeah, and it's funny enough that now I'm thinking like he wasn't really like bad man. It's just as a doctor, he failed me, and that's where the frustration was. And I think that's why I stuck to him like with him for a long time because he, as a human, he wasn't back human, okay? But my friend literally said to me, "Is he treating your husband this way?" And I kid you not, like my husband still with him because he never
Yeah.
treats
No.
like him like that. So it was so
So
bizarre.
that's called patriarchy. So patriarchy is not men. Patriarchy is the system by which men, people identified as men, are put in a position of power. In our Western society, are built under a patriarchal system, which put men's in power. It's not they're bad men. They're just trained and educated to dismiss women so that they stay in the position of power. So as women, in order to get what we need, what we want in life, we need to be assertive. We need to demand more than your husband has from your doctor because we're not
Absolutely.
listened to. Like other men to a man would hear the conversation. And I know some women don't like to hear these feminist conversation, but that's the gateway to you getting what you want in life, is understanding how society is built and how you need to operate through it. Otherwise, you'll spend your life on a diet trying to please and be thin.
Absolutely. And there's like amazing doctors too. Like, we're not talking like about every
Yes.
man. If you have a
No.
great doctor, I'm so grateful that there is men like that still. But if you in a situation and you're thinking like, oh my gosh, that's what happening to me all the time, I kid you not. Save your like trouble, save your energy. We are busy, like it's too much on our plate. You need someone in your corner. You need somebody to be like validated, heard, understood, and give you right tools, or at least go and investigate because you've been hurt.
Yeah.
So if you need to make a change, man, like was the best thing for me and my children because I have two daughters. I don't want them to be treated like that. No way. And that's actually what really triggered me because he started talking to like that to my daughter, and I'm like, you done. So on this note, we're gonna move into next question because I'm very
Yes.
interested for you to explain to us that this. So you describe yourself as a clinical non-diet nutritionist.
Yes.
For those new to this concept, what does non-diet nutrition look like in practice and how it is different from what most people have been taught about health?
Absolutely. So the main difference, if I can explain it in one sentence, is we do, as a nutritionist, I do everything else as any other quote unquote regular nutritionist do, except centering weight. We take body weight completely out of the picture and we look at health and at eating habits in its pure nature. Why are we eating? What is going on with your health beyond your weight? So it's called a weight neutral approach to health. So we provide the same care, the same program to people in large body as people in thin body. So we don't have a different approach based on your weight. So when we think about food and we say, okay, if we take weight out of the picture and we're no longer attaching how much we eat, when we eat, how we eat to a desired weight outcome, most people are confused. They're like, well, how else am I going to know what to eat if it's not by watching my weight?
Mm.
Interesting question. Let's think about that for a minute. Before we were able to weigh ourselves as human, which is only about 110 years old, before that, human for thousands of years did not weigh themselves. So, how did they guide themselves with when to eat and how much to eat and what to eat? We have a natural inborn system called interoception awareness, the ability to sense what's going on inside of our body to guide us with our hunger, fullness, and satisfaction. So for thousands of years, humans did not rely on I'm holding my phone to macro tracking. They were guided by their am I hungry? Okay, let's eat. While they're eating, oh, I'm full. Let's stop eating. What do I want? Feel like I want crispy right now. I want like bread, right? So we were guided to make choices by what felt good to us or even what was available to us. Because for many thousands of years, we did not necessarily have a choice, it was only what was available. So when we are not focused on weight to guide our choices around food, we're guided with our natural hunger, fullness, and satisfaction. That's what a non-diet nutritionist do, helps you reconnect hunger, fullness, and satisfaction, and onboard a gentle nutrition approach for your well-being instead of weight loss.
This is amazing, guys. Like it's giving me goosebumps. If you hear this for first time, please listen. Please connect to Stephanie because that that
It's the
shift,
missing
like
piece.
it's gonna be that missing piece for you guys. So my next question, it was like from your forum, and you said that dieting reduces our trust in ourselves. And
Mm.
that's exactly what you were talking about. And that's what happened to me because I saw my weight like go down when I
Yeah.
stick to the program. I could lose like 12 pounds, like in like almost like 2 months. And I was strict and I was so, so good. And then something happened with the kids, with the husband, with work, like
Yep.
everything busy. And I literally spiral and I'm end up like gain all that weight. Oh, sometimes like my lifestyle cannot be a program. Every time I'm done program, I'm stuck in the same bad habits and same binge eating and
Yes.
thinking. So please, can you walk us through like what
Well,
happening and why and please steps that women can help to rebuild that trust and especially after all this yo-yo dieting.
so I want to say one thing because people listening to me for the first time are like, they'll say to me, but Stephanie, my diet worked. I lost weight. I'm like, yeah, your diet worked until it didn't. which is exactly your story. Like you were able to stick to it, put a lot of your inner resources, your time, your energy, your emotion towards controlling yourself until life took over and it didn't work anymore. So diet work until they do not work anymore. But we are sold by diet culture that it should work. And if it doesn't, the diet is not the problem.
Hmm.
You are the problem. And then we degrade our self esteem again. We're like, fuck, it's me again. I'm the problem, right? And we untrust, right? Untrust ourselves. We're like, fuck, see, I'm broken. Sorry, the F word. See, I'm broken. Like the diet is telling me I'm not good enough to even diet. And we lose trust in our hunger, in our fullness. We lose trust in ourselves as a human being. And then we just try the next diet and we spend decades, 25 years like me doing that yo-yo dieting because, and I have to say this, and it's going to be for people who hear that for the first time, you're not going to believe me, but I challenge you to Google it. There is not, there's no research, there's no evidence that diet work long term. When we look at pure research, most research around dieting are 12 weeks long. So when they say like backed by research, and I know you are not trained to look at research, I am. When you open the research, it's usually a 12 to 16 week trial. There's not a research that has demonstrated that we can keep up restrictive eating behavior beyond 2 years. So this is your story. This is my
That's like I
story.
literally I'm thinking like that would be like terrible 2 years because that's right the way I'm thinking. Depriving, super
Yes.
planning, sticking to it, saying no to it, being like stressed out. Like it's like I never stuck to one diet for like 2 years. I was on and off to different thing, try different thing because it just was like hard to manage with the kid's life and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think like even private chef would save me because some of the days like I just couldn't eat and
No.
other I overeat.
Because your trauma would surface and you would need comforting around your emotion and you would go to food instead of going to alcohol or drugs that you were going before,
And trust
right?
me, in those days, try to take that food away. You better don't come close to me.
No, 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 because you were nurturing yourself, you were saving yourself. So
Yeah.
diets don't work. It's backed up by research, hence why we spent hoodles of money, trillions of dollars of money in the weight loss that's never getting there, right? So what we do instead, if we think about where we started the beginning of the podcast, thinking about fat phobia or weight stigma, and we're thinking, okay, if I don't look at my weight for a moment and I look at everything else that I do in my life, am I able, if I remove dieting, if I remove a restriction, am I able to be in a better space to have health promoting habits when I'm actually not restricting and overworking out? And most women will, if we work on the body image, the weight shaming, the body shaming component. What pulls people back in dieting is body acceptance. It's the struggle they have with their body image. So, a non diet approach will also include working on our self esteem, working on our body image, so we can open up the space for mental and emotional well being so that we can go back to health promoting habit and being able to take step towards our health without being focused on weight.
That is beautiful because honestly, wait, it is side effects of like what we're doing.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm going to say another thing. For all the women listening that are saying, but am I going to lose weight? Even if I do all of that, Stephanie, and am I going to lose weight? Like, am I going to go back to the weight that I was before? There is something that diet culture doesn't talk about, and I want to bring that up to everyone's awareness. I kind of alluded to it earlier. It's called weight cycling. So after years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, or 20 years of restricting, of losing and gaining weight, losing and gaining weight, that leaves marks on a body. I like to call it diet trauma, right? You lose 20 pounds, you gain 25.
Mm.
Then you binge for 2 years, you go back on the next diet, you lose 30 pounds. That is traumatic to your body. Talk about a trauma we never talk about, the trauma of dieting.
Mm.
And it has side effects. The side effect is the body feels really unsafe because it's constantly what we call yo-yo dieting, weight cycling. And actually, weight cycling, if you look at research, is linked to inflammation. It's linked to cardiovascular health. It's linked to high blood pressure because it's a traumatic environment for the body. And what the body does is it keeps the weight on. So for me, for an example, when I stopped dieting at 41, my last diet ended there. In the course of the next 2 to 3 years, I gained all the way back. And my body for the last 6 years now has been at that. I don't weigh myself, but I wear the same clothes. So it's been similarly at that weight because of the 25 years of weight cycling. Will I lose weight in the future? I don't know. If my body is meant to be at that weight, if the trauma that the dieting impacted my body, perhaps I will say that. Perhaps I will lose weight in the future. But my health is something that I can improve every day with my health habits, not with the next diet.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for
You're
sharing
welcome.
that. And I was thinking about this moment too when I made that shift. And honestly, guys, like I'm not where I want to be, but that's literally switch from what I want. I want to run with my kids. I go to the gym. I feel amazing. Oh my gosh, I have like goosebumps. You would say like, oh, maybe like there's something like I literally stopped thinking like what people think about me, what they say about me. I love my clothes. I love my life. I love my
Beautiful.
kids. Like I literally now learning how when I have those situations, I have to trust God because I'm not in
Yes.
control. I have to learn new coping mechanism. Like I walk the dog. I force myself to go on a treadmill. Now, not that much, but now I know, oh, something happening. I need to deal with the problem and my body freaking out. I'm going to the gym. I'm going to the gym. This is like was like my mantra. And I'm like puffing and huffing. Sometimes like it's half an hour, sometimes 15 minutes. Sometimes I just go there and lie down in the massage chair. I'm like, I'm in the gym. I'm in the gym. And guess what? And then my body comes down, my nerve system come down, and I actually thinking like, oh, I'm hungry, I gonna eat food. So that's very important to actually learn those things and think like, wait, gonna be side effects of my actions.
Can I build on that for just a minute? I know we're towards the end, but I think this is going to be really impactful. You said something at the beginning of your last intervention. You say, I know I'm not where I want to be. Okay? I'm going to build on that. When we say we are not where we want to be, it implies that we have a control on where we can go. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
This is because we believe that we can control our body. We believe, and we've been socialized, we have learned to believe that we should be able to control what our body looks like and our weight. What if that was a lie? What if our weight was no more controllable than our height, than the color of our eyes, than the color of our hair? What if this was an illusion that we could control the way our body looks? Would we then hope, work to change the way our body size is? Do we work on changing our eye color, changing our height? No, we don't because we know it's uncontrollable. What if we shifted that belief? then we could be able to work on our health from what we actually can control.
I knew you gotta pick up on that,
I
like
know.
literally. And I kind of like over my speaking, I'm
You
trying to
heard yourself.
flash that because and you know why? You know why I'm saying that? I kid you not, because for last 20 years, all I thought it's weight. You
Me
know what
too.
I mean? So it's still gonna come through, but the fact that I'm more concentrate of like what I eat, what I like to eat, I literally I love good food. And you know what?
Yes.
Sometimes I like that ice cream too, and I don't like punish myself for eating
No.
it. Honestly, I do believe my habits over the years getting better and better and better, and it's learning curve. But what I learned to do with myself, it's to have grace. Because like now I'm in perimenopausal stage. Now I'm like all over the place. So if I wanna have the sweets or I wanna sleep longer or I wanna walk longer, I literally listening to my body. It's the most amazing thing that happened with me. Thanks God for some maturity. I do believe that's what helps
I
me to
call it
get through the day.
wisdom, Lena. I call it the
Wisdom.
wisdom of not giving a F. I don't know if I can
Absolutely.
swear, but you see,
Yeah,
it's the wisdom women get when they get to that stage. They're like, I don't give a F anymore. I'm going to take care of me. I'm going to do me.
absolutely. That's awesome, Stephanie. That was such a cool conversation. And I know we can talk for hours, but
Hours.
that's awesome. And please tell us where can people find you online and a little bit more about your
Yeah.
work.
Since you're listening to a podcast, the easiest way for you to find me is on the same podcast platform. My podcast is called It's Beyond the Food. So that's the number one place. And then if you want to go on the internet, Stephanie Dodier, STEPHADODIER.com. And that's my entire world. And I welcome you in my world.
Hey, now I realize I mispronounced your last name
It's
because I said
French.
it with the Russian accent. So
That's
you're so
okay.
sweet. You didn't correct me. Oh my goodness. I apologize.
That's not what matter in life.
That's awesome. And before I let you go, Stephanie,
Yeah,
I'd like to ask you my signature question.
go for it.
What does love and to be loved means to you?
Compassion. Compassion for myself and compassion for others. I believe that's what the universe or God is teaching us through our life experience is compassion.
That's awesome. Any final thoughts, Stephanie?
Go beyond the food and find compassion for yourself.
That's awesome. So, thank you so much, Stephanie, for being our guest today. You provided so much insight, so much inspiration, and we truly appreciate you sharing your heart and wisdom with us. And guys, don't hesitate to reach out to Stephanie. I'll include links to everything mentioned, some maybe like I put websites, some more information for you, how you can find Stephanie online. And please, honestly, guys, you can listen like this on the platform that you choose, like iTunes, Spotify. This link gonna be on YouTube as well. And stay tuned for the next episode of Love and Beloved. And thank you so much for listening and your ongoing support. And thank you so much, Stephanie. I'm so grateful for you and your time.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, guys. Until next time, take care and be blessed.